Hi, this is Gary Goodwin, founder of The Stuck Creative, and welcome. This is the place for tips, tools, and techniques for the stuck creative, how to get unstuck, and how to keep moving. I work with creatives from all sorts of backgrounds, all sorts of ages, all sorts of other characteristics, working all sorts of different types of projects, but I see common themes among them all. The top of the list are all the distractions that we face. Now, we immediately begin to think of distractions from outside: the people, the plants, the pets, the obligations, the job, all the demands, and all the things we want to do with the people, plants, pets, job. All the things that we want to do, we can see as distractions. But there are quite a few distractions within. Distractions that keep us from getting down to work, distractions that keep us scattered, distractions that keep us fighting with ourselves. One part wants to be creative, another part says, no way, I want to just hang out, I want to relax, I want to do anything but. If we were like the medieval and earlier ascetics, where we said, okay, let's just get rid of all the friends, families, obligations, and go off to the wilderness, that would certainly clear up a lot of our distractions. But we're not going to do that. We're going to stay out of the wilderness. We're going to be very much engaged in life. And even if we did that, many of the outer distractions would be gone, but we'd have to deal with all the inner distractions, and they show up in the wilderness, in the forest, as well as the city. We need a set of tools that help us over, around, through, and under our distractions, both outer and inner. You'll find at thestuckcreative.com I discuss a variety of these distractions, sometimes zeroing in on one particular type, and sometimes stepping back and looking at a whole group. I have information there about how to handle outer distractions. I also have information there about why don't we work every day. So that's additional material, but here I want to zero in on a specific tool. A tool that will allow us to manage, sometimes make our distractions disappear, sometimes make our distractions irrelevant, so we can concentrate and focus in on what we want to be doing in our creative session. This tool is easy to learn and easy to practice, but it will, just like anything else, take some time for you to fully integrate it, to know when to use it, how to use it, when it will be most effective, how to keep going when it doesn't feel quite right when you first start out. So definitely practice this tool as much as you can, and you'll get the full benefit of it. Put this up as a question: what should we start off with? And I know some people are not just starting off, but if I were to say, put it differently, what should be the first tool in the Stuck Creatives toolbox? And that's what we're looking at today. I think our first tool should be concentration. That gives us the power to handle those outer things we can't do much about. It allows us to put up a barrier to them during our work session, or even outside of that, but also addresses many of those inner obstacles. It's concentration as the first tool, and it's a tool that we need over a lifetime to get better and better at. So why concentration? I already said it helps, but how does it help? It changes the relevancy of distraction. Somehow or another in our mind, what was a distraction, we say, okay, it's a distraction, but it's no longer at a 10 level distraction. It's a 5. That is huge. It also puts up a barrier from distractions. It can put up a wall, because our mind can say we can hold this, but we can't hold those 10 things, which is great. So if you give it 1 or 2 things, the other 10 things have, for the moment, gone elsewhere. It also moves our mind to something else. It allows us a point to go to. It allows us a place to go to, and in doing that, when we're going over there to the point of concentration, something within our work, the simplest thing within our work, the other things have to move somewhere else, or they stay behind, if that makes any sense. It also, concentration, it's a distraction as well. If you think about it that way, it distracts us from our distractions. It also helps reduce the conflict between parts, because parts need room to get in conflict, and if we're holding concentration, they don't have much room to move around. We become monofocused rather than split between two or split between four parts of ourselves, again in conflict. It also obviously reduces that feeling of being scattered, the feeling of chaos, which is the last point here of uncertainty. It gives us a certain place to be, it gives us a certain process to do that we know, it gives us something certain to control. So scattering diminishes, and uncertainty, at least for the moment, also diminishes. Now I'm going to project that some of you, because I know I have felt that way and I sometimes feel this way when it comes to these mental techniques, is, ugh, I know this, and also does that mean I have to, I jump to the analogy of me, fighting against the world or something, or just, sweat pouring out of my forehead because I have to work so hard on that. And there's parts of me that says, is that the life you want to live? Well, I'm not talking about that sweat-inducing, white-knuckle gripping level of concentration. I'm talking about an addition to the concentration that you already have and getting better at it. So it's enough to get the job done, and above all, it's enough to get you into your task. And that term, getting into something, when we get into something, we don't need concentration to be imposed from outside. We don't need my talking about concentration. When we get into something, we're naturally into it, and it takes care of so much. We find concentration. We are concentration. And once we get into something, it's sort of like, get out of here. I'm so focused on this, I don't want to go anywhere else. So go away, distractions. And we lose awareness of so many distractions. People can't pull us away from something that we're into. So this tool is for the upfront stuff. It's for developing, ending scatteredness. It's for getting us started. But once you get in, and I just can't think of situations where this is not true, once you get into what you're interested in, you don't need this tool. You will be this tool. Okay? So there. Maybe I'm just projecting, but I thought that might cross your mind. Now I'm going to project that some of you, because I know I have felt that way and I sometimes feel this way when it comes to these mental techniques, is, ugh, I know this, and also does that mean I have to, I jump to the analogy of me, fighting against the world or something, or just, sweat pouring out of my forehead because I have to work so hard on that. And there's parts of me that says, is that the life you want to live? Well, I'm not talking about that sweat-inducing, white-knuckle gripping level of concentration. I'm talking about an addition to the concentration that you already have and getting better at it. So it's enough to get the job done, and above all, it's enough to get you into your task. And that term, getting into something, when we get into something, we don't need concentration to be imposed from outside. We don't need my talking about concentration. When we get into something, we're naturally into it, and it takes care of so much. We find concentration. We are concentration. And once we get into something, it's sort of like, get out of here. I'm so focused on this, I don't want to go anywhere else. So go away, distractions. And we lose awareness of so many distractions. People can't pull us away from something that we're into. So this tool is for the upfront stuff. It's for developing, ending scatteredness. It's for getting us started. But once you get in, and I just can't think of situations where this is not true. Once you get into what you're interested in, you don't need this tool. You will be this tool. Okay? So there. Maybe I'm just projecting, but I thought that might cross your mind. Let me just say it again. And if there's such a word as unconcentration, that's great. If there's not, I'm going to use it. Unconcentration, that is being scattered, not having the power to move your mind where you want it to move, at least to some extent, it's very expensive. I already said this, but I have spent so much time in my life being scattered. And again, the opposite. I'm not talking about the opposite of always working away. There's, all sorts of gradations of not being scattered. I've spent so much time, and I suggest that most people who are here who classify themselves as stuck creatives, if they were to chart the amount of time where they haven't been doing what they want to do, even if when they had the opportunity to do it, it's incredible. It is expensive to float around, as pleasurable as that is, hanging out. There's a time and place for that. But if we want to be creative, we got to be different than that. We've got to bring our hearts and minds together and focus it more frequently, okay, to get the creative life, as I said before, that you deserve. So your craft, whatever that might be, writing, painting, acting, whatever it is, your calling, which is your deep seated and long-standing interest in painting or writing or acting, whatever, and the project yourself, whatever you're working on, they demand a lot. And we need to recognize that we have obligations to those. If we're going to be successful, and success measured by the ability to learn and to progress steadily in whatever we're doing, we have to recognize we have to give them. We have an obligation to them. We have to make some sacrifices, that we can't always be relaxed and can't always just be hanging out, can't always just follow our mood. We have to say, I've got my craft, I've got my calling, I got my project itself. It has, each of those have their own requirements, and I need to give my time, myself, my energy to those as well. Okay, enough about sacrifice, concentration, and all that. The best way to start off building concentration or getting into concentration is to start off with something simple that we can, yes, focus on or concentrate on. And what we're going to do here is something very simple. And if you've done any meditation, you probably are already familiar with this. We're just going to focus on sensory input, your sensory input, the sense of touch, and more specifically, the sensation of touch as air comes and into your nose and out of your nose. There should be a point near the end of your nose or inside your nose, whatever, as you explore, that as you breathe in right now, you can feel the air passing that point or passing into that point. End of nose, inside your nose. And when you exhale, you also have some sensation around the same place or exactly the same place as the air goes out. That's the simple tool that we're going to use to develop our concentration. Moving of air in and moving of air out. So in reality, this is very simple. Lock in on that sensation, stick with your senses. If anything else comes up, a little dream image in your mind pops up, people mowing the yard outside here, whatever, as that rolls in and your attention goes elsewhere, your focus, your concentration, you know where to come back to. And that's to come back to your sensory input of touch at the end of your nose. looking and I should say feeling the air coming in and the air going out. I'm not asking you to change your breathing rate. I'm not asking you to extend it. I'm not asking you to fill your lungs or anything like that. It's just sticking with one sense. You get, if your mind scatters, it's coming back and picking up that sensation again and locking onto it. If we lock onto it and we keep returning to it, an investment of 1 or 2 or 3 minutes, your mind will start to clarify, things are going to change, distractions are going to either disappear or become less relevant, all those things I listed before, and you're going to be shocked by the amount of what you would learn to call concentration, how much that has grown from saying, I don't have anything, to a moderate amount to a large amount. Now you have a choice when you're doing this breathing, either to continue on with the low and slow breathing, or I prefer to do that first, let that go back to my normal pattern of breathing, and just work with one thing, which is paying attention to the end of my nose, rather than two things about bringing the air low and all that. Just bring your attention to the end of your nose and feel it on the outside, or feel it on one nostril or both nostrils, or inside or a little bit inside or a little bit outside. Explore to find out where's that point where you always feel the air coming in, and when you exhale, where do you feel it when you're exhaling? Okay, I know you already have this, but I would be remiss without dragging you through the specifics again. Find the point at the end of your nose where you can feel that sensation. The steps are as simple as that. Paying attention, breathing in, however long you want to hold it, pause between breathing in and breathing out, exhaling, feeling it at the end of the nose, feeling it as it comes in, at least for the first portion of the air coming in. Whenever you exhale, just exhale. Again, no lightheadedness, no stress, no strain. If you're doing that, you're making a bigger deal of this than you should. Feel the air coming in, and then you got to pause so nothing is much happening. Stick with your sense of touch at the end of your nose and feel the air going out as you exhale. You do your typical little pause, nothing heroic again, and you're just going to repeat that. So that's it. Good. The point is finding the point under your nose or in your nose, paying attention to it, and that when anything that comes up, may that be inner chatter or outer chatter from people or pets or whatever, ignore it. Ignore all that and get back to paying attention. It's a sense sort of thing. If you're eating chocolate and you love chocolate, you probably would not have a lot of problem paying attention to the sensory input, the taste of chocolate or coffee or whatever it might be, or a particular sound that you enjoy, or a touch. Here, we're paying attention to the touch, the sensory, simple touch of air going in and air going out. Anything outside of that, any chatter, any people, any thoughts of the past, any thoughts of the future, any feelings, just get back to your breathing. As soon as you catch yourself being distracted, come back to the breathing. Come back to the sensory, the touch experience at the end of your nose. And do that again for a minute, 2 minutes. Some people make this a full meditative practice. You can do it 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. When you do the low and slow for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, you do this for 2 or 3, up to 4 or 6 minutes. It will be worth your time. This little bit of effort, you will be shocked about what you learn and how it will be helpful for you to get out of that problem of not being able to concentrate, not being able to make a shift from your day job to your creative life, to having some control over the moods that come in and grab a hold of us and push us away from our creative work for whatever reason. Those are the techniques of focus breathing. I wish you good luck with this, and just practice, let it happen. it will be yours. Again, anything that is not the sensation at the end of your nose, just ignore it. You're going to ignore thoughts. You're going to ignore feelings. I'm going to ignore the guy across the street who is cutting concrete right now. I'm going to ignore my dog that's behind me who's ready to bark. Cats rubbing on your leg. Dinner cooking. All those obligations that are rolling up. Phone screens, etc. Anything. Just go back. Trust your sense. I strongly suggest, since it's fresh in your mind, we've been talking about this, you see how repetitive I've been because it's so simple, but it's so important. I suggest if you got 2 minutes right now, 3 minutes, go ahead. That's all you need to do. You don't even need to set a timer, but just do 2 to 3 minutes and discover right now what this is about, how you can do it, and what the sensations are. Okay, checking in with you again. How did that feel? If you did it for 2 or 3 minutes, you're going to feel different. If nothing else, it took off a little bit of the edge or it shifted you at least in some way. A more moderate reaction is you might feel lighter and brighter, a little bit more flexible, a little bit more open, and a bit more curious about what's going to happen next. Good job. Okay, checking in with you again. How did that feel? If you did it for 2 or 3 minutes, you're going to feel different. If nothing else, it took off a little bit of the edge or it shifted you at least in some way. A more moderate reaction is you might feel lighter and brighter, a little bit more flexible, a little bit more open, and a bit more curious about what's going to happen next. Good job. Okay, how was that? Look and be aware of any shifts, large or small, or just even hints. I usually ask people, well, are you feeling the same way as you did when you first, came into this group, or when you first started working with me today? Do you feel exactly the same, or has there been some sort of shift? If we have awareness of these shifts, I think if they're positive, we're going to seek them out more frequently. We're also going to recognize when we're in other circumstances, other situations where we are experiencing the same shift. And the more we watch our mind and our hearts do this shifting, the better we get at shifting, if that makes any sense. But I suggest you probably feel maybe a little bit more energetic, your mind's a little clearer, things seem a little brighter, things seem to be a little bit more resolved, and probably if you're doing this for the first time, it's just a little bit, but that's significant. If you were to go on, and if you have the time for another 3 minutes, you'll feel that even deeper, and you'll feel some additional things. You could do this as you make the shift from your day job, as you prepare to go into your creative sessions, or to make a rapid shift from all sorts of things that have been going on around you and in you, saying, I need to grab the next 15, 20, or 30 minutes of this day for my creative work. How am I going to be able to do that? I don't feel like it right now. Do this technique, and you'll be able to jumpstart that and get into it and capture that for that day. All right, that's it for today. That's the tool for today from the Stuck Creative Toolbox. Please come back for more tools. I'm consistently adding more blog posts, more videos, more tools, more guidebooks, building out what you need to get unstuck, to get your project started, and to get them done. So thank you for being here today. This is Gary Goodwin, founder of The Stuck Creative, and see you next time.